Speaker is Andrew Merrifield from Sonoma State. Welcome, Andrew.
Good afternoon, or good evening. Rather than talk about the specifics of the labor movement that I'm involved in, I'm the vice president, statewide vice president for the California Faculty Association, which represents 20,000 teaching faculty, coaches, counselors, and librarians at 23 universities, the California State University system from Humboldt State to San Diego, including Sonoma State. But rather than to talk about that, I wanted to make just a couple of thoughts about some of the things that were said here today and to bring an idea forward. And one of the great tragedies, the loss of the union movement and the decline of the union movement over the last half century, is the fact that we are the last voice for working people in this country. The Press Democrat, which ignores labor other than to criticize, as they did today. They laid off 90 teachers in Sonoma County today, and the Press Democrat editorial says, well, God, we hope we don't hire them back by seniority. Okay, we need to go because we have all these failed methods to hire them back instead, because somehow if you've been a teacher for 10 years, you're no good anymore. So should we hire younger, cheaper ones? That's labor news. Okay, there's a business section in every newspaper. There are business stations on television. There are business stations on the radio. There are no labor stations. There are no labor sections in newspapers. And years ago there were. Business sections were always bigger, but there were entire sections dedicated to working people. And the labor movement is all that is left to keep the message of working people going. And so if we continue to devolve, and there are fewer and fewer of us, and they do things like take away our dues check, they take away our rights, they say if you want to keep your union you have to get it revoted each year, this will continue to harm our message. Wisconsin is in terrible shape. It will rebound. But with no dues checkoff, with no labor newspapers, with no labor news, it'll be more difficult. The other thing I wanted to observe was something that Lisa was just talking about, and also Marty and Ben and Chip and everybody else. And we talk a lot about the role of the public sector and the public sector workers. But the other thing we have to take into consideration is the labor movement not only provides we get a society when we get enough people afraid that they start buying guns and give the government the authority to protect property. We get a civilization when we work as a community to elevate. And what you do as a community to elevate is you take care of the children. You take care of the old. You take care of the single mothers. You take care of the disabled. You take care of the poor.
Public service workers are saving thousands of lives in Japan right now.
That's correct. But let me finish. It's wonderful to praise public service workers. I've been a public service worker. I did my first contract for SEIU in 1975 as a negotiator. I've been doing this a long time. But let's not forget about the private workers and what they do. As Lisa pointed out, her father made it as a laborer and a truck driver. One of the things that private workers get through the unions is they go from neophytes to apprentices to journeymen, and once they get to be journeymen, then they are members of the middle class. And it is the private unions that train the poor to become productive members of society. So as we talk about the union movement, and as we think about the people in Wisconsin that are public employees, let's not forget the working people from the private sector who really gave us the union movement, and we in the public sector piggybacked onto that, and right now we are the remnants, but we owe them a lot. They're the ones who got us the 40-hour week. They're the ones who got us workers' comp. They're the ones who got us unemployment. And I just want to finish with one last thought. One of the reasons that this happened in Wisconsin was that progressive people and working people stopped paying attention. Okay, 45 million people who voted in 2008 did not vote in 2010. And that's why you flip a state. And when you flip a state, you've got to get it back. But wouldn't it have been better if we hadn't let it happen, and now we have to get it back. We will get it back. There's no question. Maybe not soon, but we will get back on top, but it's going to take a lot more. So those of us who still have it, we have an obligation to keep it. And we also have an obligation to reach out to those who've lost it or those who never had it. We need to work together, not to think of ourselves as public employees or private employees or union workers or non-union workers. We're all workers together, and we're the ones who built society and moved it on to civilization. Thank you.